Welcome to NSF Insights on Fellowship, Internships, and Funding STEM Pathways. My name is Katerina Poradyuk, and I'm honored to serve the SACNAS community as the Student Programs Manager. Today, we will cover research and professional development opportunities for students and early career professionals. And we're proud to partner with National Science Foundation on this webinar. Before we get started, I wanted to take a brief moment to welcome our first-time attendees to SACNAS. We're a fully inclusive organization dedicated to achieving true diversity in STEM, where the field, including leadership positions, reflects the demographics of population. As the nation's largest multicultural and multidisciplinary STEM diversity organization in the country, SACNAS creates space where all members, volunteers, and partners feel they belong and can embrace their intersectional identities. If you're not yet, we invite you to join SACNAS as members. You can sign up for free by visiting sacnas.org/memberships. A few housekeeping items before we move on. If you have any questions throughout the panel portion of this webinar, please submit them in the Q&A feature, and the speakers will answer as many as they can toward the end. Remember to always be polite and respectful to others with your comments. If you have any additional questions that we don't get to, please stay to the end of the webinar to see how you can continue the conversation in SACNAS online community. So now I am happy to introduce and welcome NSF Program Director, Dr. Monia Raffin-Nash, who will get us started.
Okay, thank you, Katerina. This is Monia Raffin-Nash, and I want to welcome you to this NSF Insights on Fellowships, Internships, and Funding STEM Pathways webinar. We want to begin by thanking SACNAS for coordinating this opportunity for us to share with you our insights about opportunities to prepare and support undergraduate, graduate, and early faculty and professionals in STEM through research and professional development opportunities funded by the National Science Foundation. This webinar will highlight very specific opportunities, and we will reserve time after our presentation to respond to your inquiries of the ones that you send us, which you can send us in the Q&A box, or that some of you sent to us ahead of time. We also want to encourage you to reach out to the programs directly for additional information after this webinar. So once we finish with our presentation, we will show our video so that you can see us live, and we'll respond to those questions at the end of the presentation. So as I said, I am Dr. Monia Raffin-Nash. I'm a program officer at the National Science Foundation. I work in the Director for Education and Human Resources, and I'm the lead for the Advancing Informal STEM Learning Program and a program officer for NSF Includes implementation team. I am, as we advance to the next slide on the webinar presenters, I'm joined today by several NSF colleagues, including Dr. Tatiana Camacho, who is instrumental in initiating and coordinating this webinar for you all today, along with the SACNAS team. As we go through today's webinar, the presenters will briefly introduce themselves. Okay, so let's move forward to our presentation for today. So we know that some of you may be new to us, and we'd like to provide a brief overview of the National Science Foundation. The National Science Foundation was established by the National Science Foundation Act of 1950. NSF is the only federal agency whose mission includes support for all fields of fundamental science and engineering, except for the medical sciences. We are tasked with keeping the United States at the leading edge of discovery in areas of astronomy, to geology, to zoology, and much more. We support basic research and people to create knowledge that transforms the future. In every case, we ensure that research is fully integrated with education so that today's revolutionary work will also be training today's and tomorrow's top scientists, engineers, and science, technology, engineering, mathematics, or STEM educators, and promoting an informed citizenry. The annual budget for NSF was $8.3 billion last year in what we call fiscal year 2020. And we supported approximately 20,000 new awards. In July of 2020, we welcomed a new NSF director, Dr. Sethuraman Panchanathan. NSF has 7 directorates and several offices, which you can see here. You will be hearing from program officers who work across the foundation today. We are especially pleased to be able to speak to you, the SACNAS community, today, as the National Science Foundation is committed to preparing a diverse, globally engaged STEM workforce, supporting the integration of research with education and building capacity, expanding efforts to broaden participation from underrepresented groups and diverse institutions across all geographical regions and in all NSF activities, and then also finally, improving processes to recruit and select highly qualified reviewers and panelists that reflect the nation's diversity. Today, we will begin by highlighting a few NSF-wide broadening participation programs, such as NSF Includes, HSI, TCUP, and Career. We will then briefly share insights and opportunities available for undergraduate and graduate students. Please know that this is not an exhaustive list, as there are definitely other opportunities within the foundation. We will only speak to a few today. As a reminder, you are encouraged to send your inquiries to us via the Q&A box as we go through the presentation. And again, at the end of the presentation, we will turn on our videos and open the floor for additional questions. I'm going to begin with NSF Includes. In response to a special committee for the foundation, we received a recommendation to undertake a bold new initiative in broadening participation in STEM. NSF Includes, which was established as one of the 10 big ideas for NSF future investment. NSF Includes is a comprehensive national initiative with an express mission to enhance U.S. leadership in discoveries and innovations by focusing on diversity, inclusion, and diversity, broadening participation in STEM at scale. The vision of NSF Includes is to catalyze the STEM enterprise to work collaboratively for inclusive change, resulting in a STEM workforce that reflects the population of the nation. The 2 tenets for NSF Includes are broadening participation in STEM at scale and collaborative infrastructure. Please know that NSF Includes, the national network, is open for all who share in the vision of NSF Includes, and we invite you to seek more information, which you can access through the recent NSF Includes report to the nation, or you can go to our website that is facilitated by the NSF Includes Coordination Hub at www.includesnetwork.org. And now my colleague, Dr. Tatiana Camacho, will share with you information about the Hispanic Serving Institutions Program and Tribal Colleges and Universities Program. Dr. Camacho.
Thank you, Monia. My name is Dr. Erica Tatiana Camacho. I'm a program officer and a co-lead for the HSI program and a program officer for the advanced program. The NSF HSI program aims to build capacity, which should involve developing structures that foster student and faculty growth while meeting the students where they are in their college career academically, financially, and socially. The HSI program supports the need of tailored initiatives with their Track 1 planning and pilot projects and Track 2 implementation and evaluation projects. An organizational efforts with Track 3 institutional transformation projects. All 3 tracks support different aspects of the HSI program goals and strategies, but only Track 1 and 2 support community transformation through partnerships, and only Track 3 targets institutional transformation and improves our understanding of how to build institutional capacity. The heterogeneity of HSIs and leadership makes both institutional approaches, which we do with institutional transformation projects track, and the sub-institutional approaches, which we do with planning and pilot projects, as well as the implementation and evaluation projects, are necessary to achieve the HSI goals. All STEM fields supported by NSF are supported by the HSI program, and this includes social behavior and economic science. The NSF HSI program has a new solicitation, 20-599, that is more attentive to the needs of the HSI community with 3 tracks and many great opportunities. From funding to of-discipline specific research for faculty that is different than the proposed research project, as well as supporting students' research and also facilitating funding for supplies and things like that. We also additionally fund conference proposals that may be submitted by institutions of higher education that are non-HSIs, but that are nonprofit. There is so many opportunities, and we invite you to visit our website and see the video and the solicitation and see all the great opportunities, as well as attend office hours to meet our program officers. The Tribal College and University Program TCUP is limited in the range of eligible institutions that it can submit proposals. TCUP supports faculty, staff, and students at TCUP eligible institutions, which include tribal colleges and university, Alaska Native serving institutions of higher education, Native Hawaiian serving institutions of higher education. The goal of TCUP program is to support transformative capacity building projects that increase recruitment, retention, and graduation of Native students in STEM and their movement into STEM careers. And we do this through enhancing the quality of STEM education at TCUP eligible institutions. The program supports faculty development, curriculum development, basic and applied research, equipment, facility renovation, travel, and a variety of student support. There are several funding strands within the TCUP program that evolve from input and needs from the tribal colleges and universities community. The ICETI awards are the flagship institutional transformation trends that focus primarily on new STEM academic program degree development. The TSIPs are smaller scale projects that focus on a singular specific goal that uses an infusion of funding to support a sustainable change in education operations in TCUP institutions. The pre-ITs are planning and grants strand. The SCGR awards are typically individual investigator awards for a hypothesis-driven research project. Lastly, the relative new strand, the TEA centers, are for projects organized around the theme, which builds on existing capacity and expertise at the institution to engage in intellectual partnerships with external entities, usually tribal communities. Please contact Program Officers Judy Shades and Jeremy Nguyen if you are interested in TCUP. They have great opportunities. Now back to my colleague, Dr. Monia Ravangash, who will say a few words about the career program.
Thank you. Thanks, Dr. Camacho. Okay, Faculty Early Career Development Program, which we call CAREER. So CAREER is a foundation-wide activity that offers the National Science Foundation's most prestigious awards in support of early career faculty who have the potential to serve as academic role models in research and education and to lead advances in the missions of their departments or organizations. Activities pursued by early career faculty should build a firm foundation for a lifetime of leadership in integrating education and research. NSF encourages submission of career proposals from early career faculty at all career eligible organizations, and especially encourages women, members of underrepresented minority groups, and persons with disabilities to apply. There is a current solicitation, NSF 20-525, that provides more details. The annual deadline is the 4th Monday in July, with the next deadline being July 26, 2021. There is a pre-recorded NSF career webinar, FAQs, and a link to the Division and Directorate career contacts posted on the career page, which can be accessed from the NSF homepage, which is nsf.gov. Now, I'll turn the presentation over to my colleague, Dr. Jose Colom Ustedes, who will speak on the EPSCoR Research Fellows Opportunities, which will be directly followed by a presentation on the Graduate Research Fellowship Program, GRFP, and other opportunities directly related for undergraduate and graduate students. Dr. Jose Colom Ustedes.
Thank you, Monia. My name is Jose Colomustaris. I'm a program officer at NSF EPSCoR, and I am currently a rotator from the University of Puerto Rico at Mayagüez. I'd like to start saying that EPSCoR stands for Established Program to Stimulate Competitive Research, and the main goal is to enhance research capacity and infrastructure of these EPSCoR jurisdictions. EPSCoR jurisdictions are carefully selected by NSF based on the research funding received in the previous 5 years. So you could see in the slide a map of the current EPSCoR jurisdictions, 28 jurisdictions, including the territories. Today, we're going to particularly focus in the EPSCoR Track 4 program. This Track 4 program provides opportunities for non-tenure investigators to develop their research potential through collaborative visits to a host institution. Details of how to apply to this program is in the new solicitation NSF 21557. And some of the details that you're gonna find in that solicitation is, for example, this year we have 2 sub-tracks, what we call the Track 4 NSF and the Track 4 FAST. FAST is the Fellows Advancing Science and Technology program, which is in collaboration with NASA. So for the Track 4 NSF, the host site may be any research institution within the United States. For both tracks, we're offering up to $300,000 for up to 24 months. We allow 6 months of salary for the PI and the trainee. That trainee could be a grad student or a postdoc or an undergrad student. And there's $75,000 in travel and living expenses. That's for the extended visit that we expect that the trainee as well as the PI are going to be doing at the host institution. $10,000 for fees, supplies, publications, and other costs. Up to $5,000 for other research travel, such as conferences. And this is this budget is for both tracks, but for the NSF FAST, which is in collaboration with NASA, there's going to be an additional $60,000 provided by NASA for research infrastructure at the home institution. Now, for the NSF FAST, the host institution, it has to be one of the 5 NASA centers that are participating this year. So the PI and the trainee are going to be working directly with the NASA researchers. In this particular track, also focus in minority service institutions, POIs, women colleges, 2 years institutions, institution that serves individuals with disabilities. So if you want more information, please contact me or Dr. Whitley. You have the email address in the slide. And now the presentation is going to continue with Dr. Norman and Dr. Hill. They're going to be talking about opportunities in GRFP. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. We're going to start and give you a brief discussion about GRFP. GRFP is NSF's oldest program. It's been around since 1952. We have given out over 60,000 GRFP awards to 40 plus fellows have gone on to become Nobel laureates. We have fellows in and from every state. 450 fellows, more than 450 fellows has gone on to become members of national academies. GRFP is a 5-year fellowship award. 3 of those years are for financial support. There are $34,000 in annual stipend, and $12,000 of those go to the cost of allowance, each of which is paid through the graduate school you attend. No postgraduate study service requirement. There have been over 500 plus institutions that have been represented by GRFP as of the 2020 competition. One of the biggest tips we can give you about GRFP is to submit early. GRFP is for graduate students, if I didn't mention that before, who are pursuing or will pursuing research-based master's and doctoral degrees in eligible fields of study. And as you can see on the bottom right-hand side, these are the eligible fields of studies are based on what's eligible major fields of study that NSF supports. Keep in mind there are many subfields under these major fields of study. For more information, you would go to nsfgrfp.org. On that page, there's also a decision tree to let you know your eligibility. That's about it. More information at nsfgrfp.org. You can also find more information on how to contact the program directly to answer any additional questions you might have that we may or may not be able to answer during this session. Now I'm going to pass things along to Dr. Hill, who's going to talk to you some about NRT.
The NSF Research Traineeship, or NRT, has 3 goals. One is to conduct high-quality, interdisciplinary, convergent research in national priority areas. Another is to promote institutional change to support interdisciplinary research and training. And the third is to prepare a new generation of interdisciplinary researchers through workforce development. The current solicitation is NSF 21-536. For further information, please contact the NRT team at nrt@nsf.gov. I'm going to turn it over now to Dr. Chichi Nakwe Whitley.
Thanks, Dr. Hill. My name is Dr. Chinua Nakwe Whitley, and I'm an NSF program officer, also with the EPSRC program, like my colleague, Dr. Colon. However, for today's presentation, I'm sharing opportunities from the Division of Industrial and Innovation Partnerships designed to support postdoctoral researchers and trainees at the graduate and undergraduate level. For all opportunities, you may apply using the web addresses in this slide, which will be provided to you. The first opportunity is Innovative Postdoctoral Entrepreneurial Research Fellowships, or IPERF, which train and mentor early career science and engineering doctoral degree recipients to participate in innovative entrepreneurial activities at startup companies. IPERF fellows receive an annual base stipend of $78,000 per year with additional benefits and professional development training. The matching phase for this opportunity is open and will close at the end of March of this year, 2021. Next, GEM's Inclusion and Innovation Initiative, or I4, is a cooperative partnership that raises awareness about I-Corps through one-day workshops called Getting Ready for Innovative Pathways, or GRIP Labs, and they connect members of the GEM network to the I-Corps National Innovation Network. The GRIP Labs Gempreneur workshops are offered once a month on Wednesdays from 12 to 1:30 p.m. and you can attend via the site listed. Finally, the NSF Intern opportunity offers non-academic research internships for graduate trainees. NSF will consider supplemental funding requests for up to an additional 6 months of graduate student support on active NSF grants. PIs or co-PIs of an active NSF award may request supplemental funding for one or more graduate students to gain knowledge, skills, and experiences that will augment their preparation for a successful career through an internship in a non-academic setting. PIs are encouraged to discuss with their cognizant program director activities that are synergistic with NSF's project scope. Supplemental funding requests may be submitted at any time with a target date of April 15. Next, my colleague, Mr. Jeremy Epstein, will share opportunities from the Directorate of Computer Science and Computer and Information Science and Engineering.
Thanks, Chi-Chi. Great to be with you today. The first program I'm going to talk about is the SIZE Research Initiation Initiative, or CRII, and this is a program for faculty entering academia in computing-related fields, not necessarily computer science, in the first 3 years of an academic position. Most computer science-related programs participate, including the SATC program that I'll talk about on the next slide, and the goal is to provide research support to new faculty who do not have adequate resources to support starting a research program, typically at non-R1 schools. It's a maximum of $175,000 for 2 years. And there will be a webinar this summer. I don't have a date for it yet, and the submission deadline will be September 20th. Please contact me if you have any questions. The second program I'm going to talk briefly about is the Secure and Trustworthy Cyberspace Program, or SATC. It covers the full range of topics within the field of cybersecurity, and you can see some of the topics here. If you see a topic in the area of cybersecurity or privacy that is not listed here, it's because I ran out of space on the slide. It's not because we're not interested. We have a number of different sizes, as you can see on the right side, and there are no deadlines for most submissions to this program for both research and education and transition to practice programs. And we look forward to seeing your proposals. The solicitation for SATC is 21-500. Look forward to seeing your proposal. And with that, I'll turn it over to my colleague, Nigamant Sridhar.
Thank you, Jeremy. Thank you for that introduction about the SATC program. My name is Nigamant Sridhar. I'm a program officer in the Division of Graduate Education, and today I'm going to be speaking about the Cyber Core Scholarships for Service program, which is the government's premier program focused on producing a robust and well-trained cybersecurity workforce for the US, particularly for government service. This is a program that's run in collaboration with the Office of Personnel Management, as well as the Department of Homeland Security. The key goal of this program is to increase the number of qualified employees working for federal, state, local, and tribal governments in cybersecurity jobs. The program works in close relationship with the SATC program, which you just heard about, to increase the capacity of US education enterprise to produce more cybersecurity professionals. As the name of the program suggests, the program provides scholarships to students who are US citizens or permanent residents enrolled in full-time in a cybersecurity program at one of 87 institutions across the country. Upon graduation, the students have to fulfill a service requirement by working for a government agency for at least the same number of years as the scholarship. You can find more information about which institutions offer SFS scholarships on the SFS website, which is up on the slide, sfs.opm.gov. As you can see from the slide, the scholarship provides tuition support, a substantial stipend, as well as funds for professional development. An individual student can hold an SFS scholarship for up to 3 years. In the 20 years of its existence, the SFS program has had a tremendous impact. Nearly 4,500 students have received scholarships. 94% of these students have been placed in cybersecurity roles in over 140 different government organizations. Please visit the website for more information or contact me or one of my colleagues, Dr. Piotrowski or Dr. Yang, by email that are listed on the slide. Now we will end our presentation by going back to my colleague, Dr. Ruffin Nash, who will speak to you about a very special program NSF coordinates and supports.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Sridhar. I appreciate it. Okay, so I'm going to take a quick pause just to queue up our presenters once I'm done. So what we're going to do is that we will be opening the floor for additional questions. We will also respond to some of the questions that you all have sent us in the Q&A box. So this is a good time to send us some questions in the Q&A box, and we will then pull some of those out, especially the ones that have come up several times, like around social work. There was a question about that. We had a question about REUs and international work. So I'm going to ask my colleagues if you would go ahead and just start looking through that Q&A box so that we will have some questions that we want to put forward once I'm done. So I want to say thank you to my colleagues in advance. And for some of you, please don't put your questions in the chat. Please put them in the Q&A box for us. Okay, here we are. We're at the end of the presentation, and we did not want to be remiss by not mentioning our very own National Science Foundation Summer Scholars Internship Program, which we call SSIP, SSIP. So, have you ever wondered what it would be like to work at the National Science Foundation, or to learn more about grant administration, science policy and research at the national level, or even at the international level? Well, look no further. The NSF Summer Scholars Internship Program may be just for you. So the SSIP program is designed to develop undergraduate and graduate student potential through exposure to relevant science and engineering policy, research, and education issues and programs, and to encourage students to earn graduate degrees and pursue careers in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics fields. NSF partners with two organizations, HiQ, which is the Hispanic Association of Colleges and Universities, and QEM, which is the Quality Education for Minorities Network. These two organizations help us to select summer scholars for a 10-week internship with the National Science Foundation. Please note that applications have to be submitted to one of these two organizations. The submission deadline for HiQ is February 12th and QEM is March 12th. Both programs are now open for undergraduate and graduate students to apply through although their requirements may vary. If you have questions and you need additional information, please contact Gail Pugh-Lib, and her information is here on the slide. Okay, so now we have reached the end of our presentation for you here today, our very brief presentation. And what we like to do now is to open the floor for questions that you may have at this time. And we will also pull questions from the Q&A. So we will stop sharing our presentation. Thank you. And now I will invite the presenters to share their video so you all may see us and ask us questions directly. And then finally, I'll say that as we prepare to respond, we do want to encourage you to visit the nsf.gov webpage for more information about our programs, the opportunities shared today, and for contact information should you want to speak with any of our staff directly. Okay. And I guess I need to share my video as well. Let's see here, give me just a moment. Okay. All right, so let's begin with some of our questions. So colleagues, does anybody have a question or see a question that came up several times in the Q&A or more than once that you'd like to share with our participants? And you don't have to have the answer. One of us can certainly chime in with the answer.
One question that came in, and
Tatiana.
I'll go ahead and say one question that came in was whether the NSF supports master's students to do research in history. And I paused because I think depends on what kind of research, and usually should be through a program that they're doing. Like there's another program that is getting sponsored, and that's how the research will be supported. But I guess that's one of the questions that I saw that intrigued me, in case any one of my colleagues have a different answer.
I could provide some information connected with the Graduate Research Fellowship Program. In terms of history, history of science would be supported.
Great, thank you. Yeah, the context is going to be really important. And I actually will connect that to another question that I saw come up several times, and it was the one on social work, wanting to know if we support that type of work. And again, it depends on the context of the questions that are being asked. This is the National Science Foundation. So the work we do is in the name of and aligned with our mission and goals around science. Social science is an area that we are interested in. In fact, we have a whole directorate on social, emotional, and behavioral sciences. And so that may be a place where that work may be relevant. It may also be relevant in our education directorate, depending on the focus of that social science work. So we, again, would invite you to have a look, and that was more than one person. So we know we have some social scientists with us today. More than one person asked that question. So certainly visit nsf.gov and have a look and see what kind of work we funded in that space. Colleagues, I have a question for you. I saw this, and then Nigamont, I'll grab yours. Medical sciences. Do we support work in the medical sciences? Anybody want to jump out there at that?
So we support things relating to medical sciences, but not, we don't support, for example, any human development. We don't have a medical office like NIH does. Most of the work of that sort is done there, but we certainly would support creation of devices that might support medical science, or we might support the biology underlying medical innovations.
Great, thank you, Jeremy. Nigamont.
So I was going to bring up several questions that came up in the question and answer about students that are not U.S. citizens or permanent residents. So I'll briefly provide an answer, and I'll let any of my other colleagues jump in as well. The fellowship programs that you heard about today are all ones that require U.S. citizenship or permanent residency before you can apply. However, NSF grants may be able to support graduate students as graduate assistants on other grant programs. So they wouldn't be direct fellowships that NSF provides to students directly, but if you're working in a lab, if you're working at a university as a graduate student, those opportunities are available to students on F1 visas or international students. And if any of my other colleagues want to add to that, that would be great.
Okay. All right. I think that was a great response, Nigamont. So thank you for that. Or Dr. Sridhar. All right. Let's see here. Other questions?
Actually, can I ask our GRFP colleagues to also add one more answer? So there's a couple questions about students who are in master's programs or have started a master's program. Could either Dr. Norman or Dr. Hill take just a few seconds to talk about that as well?
The challenge with that is each program is so specific.
Okay, Dr. Norman, we can barely hear you.
Is that better?
That's much better. Thank you.
The one challenge with that is that each application is so specific. So giving a yay or nay would not be advisable. We do have an eligibility quiz on our site. And if your question is not answered in the eligibility quiz, you're welcome to contact someone that will look at your specific question as far as the details behind your application and can answer that question more thoroughly. Dr. Hill, did you have anything to add?
I'll give some big picture information. If you are an undergraduate or a person that has got a bachelor's degree, but you have not started graduate school, you're not enrolled in a graduate program, then you can apply for the GRFP fellowship as many times as you'd like. So if you're an undergraduate senior prepared to go to graduate school next fall, then you would be able to apply the previous October. And once you're a graduate student, in general, the general rule is you only have one chance to apply. There are a lot of details and specific examples, but in general, there are two groups. The ones that have an undergraduate degree or are getting their undergraduate degree and have never started graduate school, they're eligible to apply as many times as they'd like. If once you're enrolled in a graduate program, then the most you would be able to do is to apply once.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, Dr. Hill and Dr. Norman. Okay, other questions?
There have been a number of questions about postdocs. And I know in the computer science part of NSF, we mostly support postdocs as part of research programs where the faculty member might apply for and receive a research grant that might support a postdoc. Postdocs don't apply themselves. I don't know if that's different in other parts of NSF, so I thought I'd throw that out as well.
So I see a question about community college students and opportunities. So again, the fellowship programs that we talked about today aren't directly applicable to community college students. However, NSF does have a pretty large program called Advanced Technical Education out of our Education Directorate that does support a variety of programs specifically targeted at community colleges that include student support as well as part of research grants and technical education grants.
And speaking of programs, there have been a couple of questions about programs that support STEM. Mostly it looks like K-12, youth, out of school time students. Also, I saw one about a student that's working with an art installation. So we do have programs in the Education Directorate. We have a division for research and learning, which is where I am and work. And we have a program called Advancing Informal STEM Learning, which does support out of school time work like television, radio, film, installations that you find in museums, exhibits, out of school time programs, etc. And so those do support students, youth of all ages, including also graduate students and postdocs and faculty who do the research and implement those programs. So you would want to find out more information by either contacting me at mruffin@nsf.gov, or you can go to the nsf.gov and do a search for informal learning. Okay, others. Great questions, by the way. Thank you all for sending us questions. We have quite a number. We've answered already almost 40 and have almost that many that are here. Go ahead, Nigaman.
I have a question from Mohammed Yadi asking about scholarships in cybersecurity. Again, the question is this also available for community college students? And the answer is yes. There are, if you go to the SFS website, sfs.opm.gov, and I'll also drop it in the chat, and there's a list of all institutions that are that have SFS scholarships, and you will see a list of community colleges that are also included in that list, and that's where you would start.
Thank you, Nigaman. Tatiana, I think maybe you had a question.
I have there's a question that was on the chat. Sorry, did I jump ahead of someone?
Oh, no, you're fine.
There was a question regarding the summer internships, whether they get a research experience. And depends on what program you end up working with. We have had interns from Haku at the HSI program where they get to do research and data analysis on some key questions about the program. So definitely that's a possibility if you apply to the internship program. Another question was in terms of applying for summer programs, how do they apply? You apply directly to the sponsor program that NSF is sponsoring. So if you go to the NSF website, there's going to be a list of all the different summer research experience that are being supported by NSF, and you contact the directors of those programs directly, and you apply directly to those programs.
And I'll also say, as someone who used to run REU programs, if you go to the Institute for Broadening Participation's webpage, they have quite the list of REU programs as well as other fellowships and scholarships for undergraduate and graduate students. So I also encourage you to visit that page as well. I don't know if we fund them or anything. I just know that it's a good resource for you all if you're interested in REUs as well as other types of fellowship opportunities. Okay, colleagues, we're at good time. We still have about 13 more minutes, and we still have a number of you still on the line with us. So thank you. We hope you're getting really good information. You just signed on with us. Again, we just encourage, if you have additional questions, please feel free to reach out to the programs directly, and you can get to those programs from our homepage, so nsf.gov, and then in the search box, you put in the name of the program or a keyword, and it should bring you to some of the opportunities that we talked about today.
I'd like to offer a question here from the Q&A. What type of projects are considered strong for the NSF career broader impacts, and how does NSF evaluate the success of a broader impact from an awarded grant? So the term broader impacts at NSF means many, many different things. It's not a single thing. It's educating graduate students, educating undergraduate students, community outreach. In my field of computer science, it can be things like providing source code to your products. It can be publishing. It can be many of these things. There's not a single thing in particular that we're looking for. For career proposals in particular, we're looking for some of those broader impacts, which could also include partnering with industry, but we're also looking specifically for an integration of the education program, or excuse me, the education of your research with an education program, so that your students and other students will gain from the research. And we're looking for something that is going to run for the 5 years of the career grant and will help you with your career over a longer term than just the duration of the grant.
Hey, thanks, Jeremy.
Yeah, I've been reading, this is probably a question for Jeremy or Narcrisha, a few questions related to how to write a strong GRFP proposal. I don't know if it was answered. I was reading through the questions, but at least when I was in the University of Puerto Rico, there were seminars by professors that were given to the students, but I don't know if NSF has something in that order.
Okay, thanks, Jose. Oh, Dr. Colon. All right, so Dr. Hill, Dr. Norman, do you want to say more about resources for those who are preparing GRFP proposals?
Sure, I can start, and maybe Dr. Norman will provide some more information. You know, all the applications are reviewed, and we ask the reviewers to think about all the information that's presented in the application. So there are different parts of the application. So if you look at the solicitation, which is kind of like the instruction manual, you'll see there are different parts. There are a couple different statements you have to create. There's your transcripts. There are reference letters that need to be submitted. And all those things combined are used by the reviewers to consider the application. And so each part of that is supposed to be part of the total comprehensive review that's made for any particular GRFP application.
My advice for a strong application would be the first thing you should do is read the solicitation thoroughly, review the website thoroughly. There are a lot of questions, general questions that many people have asked. So you review the questions others have asked, you come up with your own questions, but to look at the solicitation to make sure that you're following all the requirements. And now is a great time to read that ahead of time to know what the requirements will be. So for a strong application, know what's required and start preparing for those things ahead of time.
Okay, thank you both. Chi-Chi.
So I saw two questions about the EPSCoR opportunity, one about how travel is being handled, and then another regarding the tenure status of applicants. So for the Track 4 opportunity that EPSCoR offers, we are open to receiving applications from non-tenured long-term investigators or tenure track investigators. And so there's really two categories. You're either at a institution of higher education or you're not at an institution of higher education. And then once you go through that decision tree, you're either on a career track if you're at an institution that is not of higher education, or you are non-tenured or tenure track at an institution of higher education. So the solicitation gives as many opportunities for folks that are early career investigators to be able to boost their careers through this opportunity. I think a second question was raised about travel and NSF's approach to travel for Track 4, but I think even more broadly, we have a number of flexibilities regarding travel and grant administration that are outlined at our NSF response to the coronavirus pandemic page. And so I can post that link in the chat so that you'll be able to understand all the different memos that have come out on the different flexibilities that are available to current PIs so that they will be able to have flexibilities as they're pursuing their research during the coronavirus pandemic.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Nikwe Wheatley.
No problem.
All right. Other questions or comments? We will likely leave just a few minutes at the end in the event that our SACNAS colleagues have additional information like how people can access a recording, et cetera, of this presentation when we're done. Dr. Camacho.
I have a general question that is on the chat that I would like to get input from my colleagues as well. Are there any post-baccalaureate programs at NSF currently being supported? That's one. And another question too is what constitute a strong broader impacts in the NSF career proposal? How does NSF evaluates this? And I know there's careers cross directorate, so there's different answers depending on the director or the discipline. So I would like to pose those questions and have my colleagues answer them.
Mm-hmm. And I would like to extend the first question because I also saw a question about the gap year. And I think that's really common nowadays, maybe even more so right now during this time of the pandemic. So what advice do we have for either students who are pursuing kind of post-baccalaureate type of opportunities and those who are taking a gap year? They finished their either undergrad or their high school, usually between high school and higher ed, they often take the gap year. Any advice for those folks? Can they apply for GRFP, for instance? Can they, I mean, what can,
So a person that had just received their undergraduate degree and took a gap year is in a perfect position to apply for GRFP. If they could have already applied once as an undergrad, and since they've received their degree, but they have not started grad school, they're not enrolled in a graduate program, they can apply again. And then if they still don't get the fellowship, they could apply generally, they can apply after they are enrolled in graduate school. The general rules, they can apply once while they're in grad school. There are a lot of details connected with applying while you're in grad school, but the maximum you could do it is once.
Okay. Anybody else want to add to that one? Okay, then we'll go to the second one, and this may be our last one. And I forgot the second question. What was the second one? Sorry.
For the NSF career, what constitutes a strong broader impact component, and how is that actually evaluated by the different programs and disciplines?
Okay.
Well, as I said earlier, broader impact covers many, many different areas, and there isn't a cookie cutter answer that 3 of this and 2 of that and 7 of the other thing. We're looking for something that shows your interest as a researcher and your passion, that relates to the research area and that is going to make a difference for the community, for the nation, for the scientific field. So it could be any of those things. How is it evaluated? Well, as with virtually all NSF proposals, we have peer review panels. They read what you write, they discuss it, and it is generally comparing apples and oranges because everyone is doing something different. But this is what we do: is we read them and we assess it. And the most important thing is, if you choose something that you're passionate about and you have a great idea of how to do it, it'll come across.
Yeah, I would encourage, and this is for any type of proposal, especially GRFP proposals. And well, I will say any proposal, even career, do keep in mind that we have 2 review criteria across the entire foundation. There are many, but we have the 2 primary ones, which would be intellectual merit and broader impacts. They are both important to us. And we look for innovation and creativity and scholarship in both. So I would really encourage you, you always want to, you want to be competitive, right? And you also want to be realistic about what you put forward. And so I would encourage folks to really think a little bit beyond the box. We get these really innovative intellectual merit, and then we get to broader impacts, and it says we're going to go to a conference. Okay, so, push on the broader impacts as well. Think about different places and people that you can reach. Think about different platforms that you can use, So there we are. I wanted to just really encourage you all to just think a little bit broader for the broader impacts, okay? All right, so here we are. We are very close to the end of our time here with you today. I think on behalf of my colleagues, both here presenting and the National Science Foundation, we appreciate your interest and your time. And we do look forward to hopefully hearing from you, receiving applications and questions. And now I'm going to turn it over to Katerina, who will have some final words. Thank you all.
Thank you to all speakers for sharing such a valuable information with the SACNAS community. Now, if you have any additional questions or would like to continue the discussion after this webinar, we invite you to connect in our online community, follow the link on the screen, and sign up or sign into your SACNAS membership to get started. We also want to hear from you. Immediately after this webinar, you will be redirected to a brief survey. I encourage you to provide feedback on today's program and suggestions for future webinars. Finally, if you enjoyed today's webinar, you can find this recording, upcoming and previous webinars on our website at sacnas.org/webinars. This concludes today's webinar. Again, thank you, NSF partners. Thank you to our speakers, participants, and the National Science Foundation. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and we will see you next time.